Welcome to the Tantric Leadership Podcast. My name is Anja. I'm the host of this podcast and the founder of the European Tantra Festival. And I'm super excited to have an amazing guest here today. Her name is Amanda Biccum, and she will introduce herself in the next sentence. I just want to share quickly about myself. I am working a lot with women in the fields of power, pleasure, and purpose. And I have studied collective and ancestral trauma for more than 10 years now. And I love to bring awareness to this field and to help women to see where these kind of things are playing out in their bodies, in their lives, and help them to release that, to let go of that, so that they can come fully into their power, pleasure, and purpose. And now it's your turn, Amanda. I am excited to have you. You are live here from Bali with me. And I would love for you to just share your name, to share what your work is about, and then we will dive into a conversation.
Amazing. Thank you for having me here. Yes, it is true. I'm in Bali. I'm currently looking out at the most glorious Balinese jungle. I feel very blessed to be here. And I've spent the last decade traveling around the world, learning from different Eastern traditions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and then eventually my path led me to Tantra. I was a practicing dedicated yogi for many, many years, taught yoga all over the world. I then went into acro yoga where I started to learn about relationships. I started doing counseling and coaching. My background is a holistic health coach. And in all of these journeys, I started hearing more and more about the challenges many people, including myself, had with intimacy, sex, and relationships. And I'm a very deeply spiritual person. I feel the divine very much present with me in the last 15 years, for sure. And Tantra has been the path for me that really allowed me to incorporate all parts of myself, my spiritual self, my sexual self, my animal self, my relationship self. And now I'm the co-founder of a beautiful facilitation school called Temple of Radiance with my best friend, Arya Hendricks. And I also continue to teach and lead trainings all over the world. For women around sexuality, Tantra, and embodiment.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And you just mentioned it already. You were just founding together with Arya the Temple of Radiance. What is the purpose? What is the mission? What is it about?
Amazing. Yeah. So the Temple of Radiance, basically having traveled around for the last 7-8 years, I've been very focused in Tantra. Before that, it was all spirituality, health, holistic, nutrition, etc. And the last 7 to 8 years, I've really focused on what was at one point my weak point. And in that, I started receiving many teachings from different teachers of Osho or Taoism, from Tantric Taoism, from the Mantra Chia lineage. And what I realized, and what myself, Arya, realized, is that there are many teachers out there who are teaching this type of work, which is amazing. And there are some facilitation details that can really enhance someone's ability to communicate and cultivate space that allows participants to go deeper because they feel really safe and really held. And so the Temple of Radiance was birthed as a desire. Our work became more and more wanted and needed, and it's just me and Arya. We realized we only have so much capacity. And we realized that in the field of facilitation, also with tantric wisdom that we both have and experience that we have, there wasn't a facilitator training that we felt was really, really inspiring, that had all the little details that we take so much with us, that was offered out there. So as a desire to not only expand the work of Tantra in the world, to make it more accessible, to also realize that whoever comes in our doors, they're going to be at a different place in their journey. They're going to have different experiences. They're going to transmit this message in a different way. We wanted to create an institute, essentially, a facilitation institute. Say that 3 times. That really gave facilitators not only the wisdom and the knowledge, which we use more of a classical approach. So our teachings are based on the Vidyana Bhairava Tantra, which we use the modern day translation, which is called the Radiance Sutras, and all of our work is rooted in that. So we really wanted to take this ancient Eastern understanding and spiritual approach and blend it with the modern, how do we actually to be able to share this with the world. And I think what makes this Tantra training different, not only is it the skills that we have, but also we realize as facilitators, the biggest challenge is marketing and getting yourself out there and copywriting and branding and doing all of these things, right? And so what we decided was like, why don't we create a big brand that does all of that for you? You still have to put yourself out there. You still have to meet people. You still have to, but we are going to take the bulk of the energy of the challenging pieces away so that you can just show up and facilitate and give your gifts to the world. And so, the mission is to share these teachings with as many people as we can, realizing we can't do it alone.
No, absolutely. So that was my dream since many years, to build exactly this up together with women I really appreciate. So I'm super happy to be able to contribute to that as well, because I feel this is, on the one hand, as you said, is so needed. There's nothing like this out there yet. And it is so important that we really come together as a tribe of powerful women and contribute with that to the world. And do what you just said, facilitation, and not spending 90% of the time with marketing. Like I have built up companies in the past. I built up an e-bike company in 2009, 2010, like 15 years ahead of the whole e-bike boom. And I know that you need a huge, amazing team who believes in that and who make that dream come true.
Absolutely.
And as well, what you said, like, I don't know any facilitator who is not struggling with marketing, who is like, oh God, I'm losing energy, I'm losing time with all this online marketing. And then out of the sudden, I'm sitting 80% of my time in front of the computer, and it frustrates me so much. Like I feel the same sometimes. I just don't want to sit there. I just want to go into my center and teach every fucking day.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm very, very happy that this is happening. And I'm looking forward to see this flower blossoming and to see what kind of garden comes out of this.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of people who are seeing and feeling the power and the potency. And like you said, we have an amazing team. We couldn't do it without our team. We've employed a whole team that is supporting us to implement everything.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to how this can help everyone, well, anyone who works with us, of course, to spread the depth of what we're here to bring in the world much wider and further.
Yes. And for now, when I understand you right, it's more an online institute. Is that correct? Or do you already plan to have a proper place?
Oh, yeah. So essentially the training is both in person and online. So the first training that we're going to do, it's a 9-month training. And the first 2 weeks are in person, and people are going to train with us and learn. They'll learn a certain structure that's perfect for people who are beginners, who are even people who have experience. We just taught the first beta tested, the first one this weekend. And there was quite a few people who also had experience and got a lot from it, because Arya has such incredible wisdom from the tribes that she visited in Colombia and in India, the ashrams in India. So she really has this, if you could think about the chakra system, her higher chakras are very connected. Whereas for me, I also have that. And I feel very earthly. I feel very connected to the lower chakras. So it's like together we kind of complete each other and help the energy circuits run through. And so the first 2 weeks will be in-person training, learning how to teach this structure. Then after that, we will have a 9-month online, which is part of what you'll be a part of, which is where we go deeper into business, because facilitation is, you also need to learn business. You need to learn how to be an entrepreneur. You need to learn these things, because you could be an amazing facilitator, but never make a career because you don't have the knowledge and the wisdom of how to build a business. And of course, we're going to support you, but you're the one who's the magnet who's going to be able to sell whatever it is that is your frequency. So, and then we'll have trauma, of course, which is where you'll be a part of, and we'll have a few other segments as well on deeper pieces on facilitation. And then we're actually here in Bali because we're looking at a few pieces of land, because I'm a big believer in community. And I've been in a part of several different facilitation trainings, etc. And some of them, they gave me the tools. And while I was there, I felt a lot like a community member. But then after, there wasn't something to really hold the community together. So this is why we're doing part in person, part online. And then our vision is to create a physical place where we have our own temple, we have our own space. We're going to be inviting people in to come live with us, to buy a house in our little village. And these are all people who really want to contribute and want to raise children together and do the practices together and have support. And one thing that's so incredibly supportive in Bali is that the Balinese are so supportive in and around the house, also with children. And so really wanting to integrate them more in. Ari and I just talked about last week, like how can we create a Balinese price, whether it's a donation, or in our current venue, it's too small. We can only fit about 42 people. But in our center, how can we also, if there are Balinese who want to come learn, how can we have a big enough space where they can come learn at a very, donation or a very friendly Balinese price, so that we can also give back to this land, because it's been so nourishing. And the other day we went to an amazing temple. It's a tantric temple in Bali, and it had a Shiva Lingam statue that was, I don't even know, 7 meters high. Wow. And it was insane. And it's like in this cave that you crawl through, and wow, it was insane. So it feels like such an honor and a blessing. And we're really looking forward to the physical project. And I'll be honest, it takes a lot of patience. So Arya and I are in the practice of, we're ready for it. And we were ready last year, and finding the right piece of land. We have the builders, we have the architect, but it's really about negotiating with the locals and creating a good deal so that everybody feels good.
And you just mentioned it, patience. This is one of my biggest challenges and learnings as entrepreneur. So I have built up now, I think, 3 or 4 companies. And it always took longer than I wanted it to take. So this is a big piece as well too. And I have to remind myself as well to be more patient, not wanting to publish 3 books in 1 year, to just finish one. You know what I mean? So I totally feel you in this. And
I feel that.
Yeah, sometimes it's challenging.
Yeah. And I feel this is like, when we talk about entrepreneurship, this is the path. It's like, how can I have patience and learn to not push and override? And I know probably many of the people that you work with high-strung nervous systems, they probably are in that overdoing, overgiving, overfocus, overdriving, which is in essence the toxic masculine, or the immature masculine, you could say. And we all have it, doesn't matter what gender we're in. And I feel it's this beautiful balance between, okay, how can I lean back and have patience and really listen to what's needed? And how can I also stay focused and keep showing up? with where it is that I'm going and stay disciplined. And that's a challenging thing for many people. I mean, I tell many people, not everybody. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, mainly women who are in this field or in the field of spirituality, oftentimes sexuality. And it's like, yeah, it's not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur because it takes a lot of discipline and patience and dedication and focus. And if you don't want to burn yourself out, a beautiful balance between masculine and feminine. And yeah, it's a practice, as you shared.
It's a practice, and it requires trust. Trust in yourself, in your ability, and really trust in life that it guides you and that you will reach that, right?
Absolutely.
But then I feel like, for me at least, when I have that, then it's like magic happening, and this energy opens, and
yes,
things are falling in. I'm like, oh wow. For example, I had this download for the Tantra Festival in this castle in the Netherlands, like 2.5 years ago, in a meditation retreat with my spiritual teacher, Thomas Hübel. I was sitting there in meditation and in this castle, and boom, I had received this picture of this whole Tantra event. I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to bring this into a castle. I want 500-600 people here to experience this, what I lived in Copenhagen for so many years. I really want to scale it up and to bring it to more people, and to do all this trauma informed, because this is what I'm studying since 10 years. And this is what I know, like in these tantric spaces, there are enough institutions or spaces which are not so safe. And I received a lot of feedback from women who didn't feel safe. And like, this is a huge mission for me, to make, on the one hand, this world a safer space for women, but as well to create more safety and sacredness in these tantric spaces. And I know that, like, I feel you and Arya, and as well your partner Shiva, you're doing that. And there are not so many people I have met so far who are able to combine it and to bring it down to earth, to really manifest it and to hold these kind of containers. And this is why I'm so happy to have you and to co-create this festival with you. It's for me, I feel like I really want you to have a leading role in this. And then when this is going great, that we can create maybe more festivals out of this. Maybe there's one for women, maybe it's in different, in different places,
beautiful.
So this is, for me, it can be an addition to the temple you're creating in that space. And then it has this kind of, let's call it pop-ups, or however you pockets in different spaces, but there people come together, they learn about it, they open, and maybe some of them in this place start to build their own little pockets and groups, and they start women's circles or men's circles, you know what I mean? So that it spreads, or they start a pussy temple. I don't know how the expression is in the end. But for me, it's the same. Like, I want to spread it. And to someday I want to be in a fucking big stadium with 60,000 people, having David Garrett there and opening the hearts of the people and downloading like the light and the sacredness in. Yeah. Because all this collective trauma, we need a collective to heal it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think the vision is beautiful. And I do feel it is changing. I mean, even ecstatic dance and the yoga movement, I often say yoga is the gateway drug to Tantra. Like, first people start out in yoga, and then, or breath work, one or the other. And then slowly they kind of start realizing, there's this piece, this sexuality piece, this animal piece, this relationship piece, which no one ever taught us about. No one taught us really how to have sex. We had some shitty sex education that was basically like, don't get STDs, don't get pregnant, great, thanks for the help. Nobody taught us about pleasure in our bodies. Nobody taught us about listening to each other's boundaries or even our own boundaries. And then we go and we try to figure it out. And the only thing we have as a resource is porn or our friends. And our friends only really know what they've done or get their reference from porn. So it's like, but I do see it shifting. I do really see there's a shift. There's more and more awareness. There's more festivals coming out. There's more women's circles coming out. There's the festivals are becoming more full. And I do see, like, even with ecstatic dance, for instance, 15 years ago, it just started and it was super weird. People were like, what are you doing? You're going to dance sober in a space? This is super weird. And now you see ecstatic dance everywhere. And so I have a lot of faith with these pioneers, these tantric pioneers in the new age of really being able to continue bringing it. I mean, Osho did a fantastic job.
Yes.
And I trust that it's only going to continue to ripple out.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Really, really, I honor him for like so many things he downloaded. All these meditations was really helped me to either relieve emotions or go deeper in intimacy. And yeah, it's really amazing. And we will have amazing people teaching at the festival as well who lived with Osho for many, many years.
Amazing.
And I'm super grateful to bring in that wisdom as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like you said, there's no facilitator training yet who really like brings all these pieces together, what you are bringing. Can you give maybe one example? Like, what is one of the keys for you? What is different?
Yeah, absolutely. Community. That is one of the biggest keys, because community for me has been absolutely, it's actually also in my chart and my design. I was just looking at the pattern yesterday and it talked about how important community is. And I believe that community is where we're going. I believe, and even if you think about the chakra system, right? In the beginning, we were just trying to survive and we were finally able to survive and we were able to move into procreation. Now that we're able to procreate and populate, we're able to move into Manipura, you know, our solar plexus, which is about me, my independent. I can do it. I got to find myself in the whole evolution of humans. And now we're moving into Anahata, right? Or if you follow Ken Wilber work as well, there's a lot of these scientific understandings, which is in combination with the spiritual understanding of where we're moving in our human evolution. And I believe, yeah, we're in a space of the heart. We're learning way more about the heart. This is why our trauma is able to be seen and looked at. Whereas 50 years ago, it wasn't like PTSD barely even came on the map. We didn't know about it. And I feel it takes a community to really to thrive. It takes a community to heal. It takes a community to transform and to grow. And I see this in my own life. I live in a Tantra community that I started in Holland. We live in a beautiful remodeled church. There's 6 of us. We support each other emotionally. We have check-ins. If something needs to be processed, if a little part of our inner child is being alive and active, we hold space for it. We cook together. And because of that, I feel more nourished, more connected, more fulfilled. And so with the Temple of Radiance, this is also a big piece. It's like, not everybody is going to be, even people who come to the facilitator training. I remember when I did my yoga teacher training, the first one, I just did it because I was good at yoga, but I wanted to deepen into the philosophy of what yogic practices were. I never thought I would be a facilitator. And then I went through the program and everybody was like, you have to facilitate. I want to take your classes. And I feel even with the Temple of Radiance, some people, we call it a feminine leadership initiation. How do we lead from the feminine? Because Tantra, in essence, is very feminine. It's a feminine spirituality practice. In the Radiant Sutras, one of the sutras says, when Shiva, in the Bhanta verses, Shiva and Shakti are having this conversation about what is this delight-filled universe into which we find ourselves in. And Shiva replies, you know, the way to me is through the divine feminine. Like I get goosebumps as I hear that. It's the way to me is through divine feminine. That is how you find me. And how do we do that in everyday life? We take in the richness of the present moment. We taste our food. We really drink it in. We slow down. We spend time in nature. We connect. We share our vulnerabilities. We share our truth. We share our heart. And there will be some women who come in because they want to be a part of this vibration. And maybe they go through the training and they're like, whoa, actually being a facilitator isn't what I want, I realize, but I would love to be an organizer because I like being the person behind the scenes more than I like being in front. And it's like, perfect, there's space for you. Or maybe there, you know, there's just so much ways to connect and to support also on the back end and the front end. I mean, we have amazing paid positions for people who are supporting with our team and making sure the team is being supported. And there's just so much growth. And we envision core gatherings similar to ISTA, where you have core gatherings and anyone who's been through an initiation, all of the teachers get to host something, and all of the participants who have been from around the world, whether in Germany or Israel or US or wherever it is, they can come to these core gatherings and be held by our Temple of Radiance teachers. And our Temple of Radiance teachers, there's going to be, we don't just certify everyone. I remember when I went to my second yoga teacher training in India for my 500 hours, I was actually really upset because there were some people who just started their yoga journey and were in the same group as me as a 500 hour. The 200 and the 500 hour were together, and the 500 hour just had a few extra sessions. And I remember being so upset because I'm like, you are putting me in a group because you wanted money. So you let anyone in and you're holding me back. And I've been in a few facilitator trainings where I felt the same thing. So another piece with Temple of Radiance is we are going to be selective. You have to have had quite a few years. You need to be doing some sort of work, whether it's one-on-one work or body work, or maybe you're already facilitating. You need to have had some sort of, or you've come to our trainings. This is another way. There are a few women who it's like, they've come to multiple trainings. They're super dedicated and devoted to the path. Great. We see you. We're happy to give you the space in our training. But it's really, we're not going to certify everyone. We will be really honest on if we feel like, hey, we want to certify everyone, and we feel like there's more layers that could be used in feeling your own confidence, or we feel like there's a few more layers of embodiment that really, if they land inside of you, it will be much easier for you to share your frequency, and you'll be a magnet to people attracting. And these are, I guess, two things: community and really setting a standard of who is a Temple of Radiance facilitator. It's almost like, back in the day when there was, in the beginning of the yoga journey, if you were a facilitator, there was a Yoga Alliance certified trainer. There was some sort of merit until it became very greedy and hungry and they just let anyone in. But this is what we really want to stand behind, because there are certain values that we have, and we want the world to know that when you go to a Temple of Radiance facilitation event, whether it's a temple, like a tantric temple, it's not going to be a play party. There are elements of devotion. There are elements of worship. Every temple will be rooted in at least one line of the Radiant Sutras, so that people aren't just having great ecstatic experiences, but they're also able to understand the depth of the wisdom of the spirituality behind our sexuality. So those are a few things.
And exactly this feels so powerful to me. And this is why I feel so drawn to you and Arya, and to be part of that work, because this is so important for me as well. And as you just said, I see so many play parties around, and it doesn't excite me. But bringing it back to the roots and creating this sacredness and giving people the experience of what is possible when we combine that spirituality and sexuality and connection. Just complete different dimensions. And I really love what you said. Like, for me, it's super important to as well have these standards that you say, okay, these are our quality standards. And facilitators only pass if they really fulfill them, if they're able to hold trauma when it comes up, if they're able to create sacredness, if they're able to keep the frequency high, even in challenging situations, keep the values high. And whenever you go to one of our events, this is the minimum standard of quality. And for me, I feel it's so important, because you just named an organization. I feel the offers of that organization, it's like it's in waves. Like, you have a very different experience depending on who is facilitating this thing under the umbrella of that name, right?
And I think, some of the ways that we are attempting, and of course we will have our learning experiences as every organization does. Of course, we're not perfect. And one of the things that we are really strong in and what we're teaching is called embodied Tantra. And this
What
is
is
something
that
that
for you?
myself and
What is it? Like for
yeah,
people who
exactly.
don't know, what is
For
she
who
talking about?
don't know these
What is
terms.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is something myself and Arya and also my partner Shiva are really, I feel, leading in a way the way. And
Mm-hmm.
embodiment is essentially I go deep into it. Most of my work is actually in embodiment. So I say it like this. I'm going to give you the theoretical, like so you can understand it for the people who are listening through the mind. You will understand it, and then I'll give you a practical example.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I understand and I work with embodiment and I teach embodiment is your connection to and your awareness of your physical body. So how am I in relationship to my physical body? What's moving through? How can I feel my physical body? How
Mm-hmm.
connected to my pleasure am I, etc. Your mental body, which most of the population is stuck in the mental body. And then if you're lucky, then you have connection to the physical body. But it's not just like I'm going to the gym to work out. It's no, there's a lot inside the physical body, your
Mm-hmm.
mental body. So I am not my stories. My mind is creating this narration that I'm choosing to usually unconsciously believe it's stories. And this is what's creating my reality. Then it's your emotional body, and the mental body and the emotional body are very different. So it's like, what is my connection to and my awareness of my emotional body? Can I access my emotional body? Do I feel safe in my emotional body? Am I able to express my emotional body? Or I've been being the pleaser or the good girl or the nice guy or in pushing it down, right? So it's how connected and aware am I to my emotional body? Then there's your energetic body, which we talked about before we got on this call.
Mm-hmm.
So science can even measure that there is this electromagnetic field that is moving around us. And when we do practices like Qigong or Tantra or breath work or Taoism or yoga, we can enhance this body, or meditation. We can enhance this. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about, he heals so many people through working with the energetic body, right? So what is my connection, especially in sexuality, to my energetic body? I often say to my clients who struggle with boundaries in sexuality or not, usually your energetic boundary is being crossed way before your physical.
Yes,
And so if you
always.
can learn to become aware of your energetic body and how close it is or contracted or how big it is, then guess what? You're going to have much easier time of feeling your yeses and your no in every aspect of life. And then finally, the fifth body is the spiritual body. So this is, again, a big path of Tantra for me, which is my ability to realize that there's something so much bigger than myself, which is, again, being aware that I have a mental body, but I'm not the mental body. And so it's this ability to be like, okay, there is something none of us know. There's so many books, whether you read the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or, the Vijnana Vairava Tantra, none of us know. And yet when we choose to connect to that and to be in wonder and in awe at the mystery of this consciousness that we are living in this physical body, there's the ability as a leader, you mentioned, how can you hold space when shit is hitting the fan and that your personal, your mental, your emotional isn't getting so affected, so you can stay in this, Arya often says, God doesn't make mistakes. So how can you stay connected even when life is shitty sometimes and it's challenging and there's pain and there's loss and there's grief? How can I be in all of these bodies and move with all of these bodies while staying connected to my spiritual? And in my experience, when all of these are moving and connected and you're aware of them, they happen when you walk into a room, they happen when you're in a conversation with someone, they happen when you're making love with someone. When you're aware of all these bodies, then the sexual body or the animal body starts to become more alive, or the erotic body. And one of the things that Tantra has given me is access to my erotic body, which is, it's not even this sexual, I want you. It's this life force. Fuck yes, I feel turned on for life. I have endless amounts of energy when I can tap into this erotic body. And this is because I've connected to all these other bodies that are stuck and disconnected. And most, I would say probably 9% of the population isn't even aware that all these bodies are always existing.
Yes.
And so embodied Tantra is like, how do I use and work with all of these bodies to become the embodiment in my everyday life, that I'm not just a leader that's putting on a show when I step into a room so that people can think that I'm something that I'm not, but behind the scenes, I'm doing my emotional work. I'm doing my trauma work. I'm doing my embodiment. I'm connecting to my body every day. I'm doing my devotional work. I'm in rituals. I'm in prayer. I'm in ceremony. I'm connecting to the divine. This is an embodied Tantra. So how can we embody this frequency by what we live? And then therefore, we're not teaching. We're showing what is possible through every action. And this is what's going to make a Temple of Radiance facilitator very different. Because I believe the old school top-down teaching is moving out of the way. The gurus, you know, it's beautiful to have masters, and it's beautiful to have these people who came before us. And now it's like this knowledge has been passed on. It's just a remembrance. I'm remembering, and I'm reminding you to remember too. And this for me is really also what makes it so different.
Thank you very much for this amazing explanation. And I would love to add a piece. So what I hear and feel from you, and what is true for me as well, is like this old guru is kind of the past. And for me, as well, like facilitation is not like I'm the teacher, I tell you what to do and what is right. No, it's like I am living by example. I'm living my own embodiment. I do, as you said, my practice. And when I'm in front of the people and share my experience or show a practice, I give a transmission, and I give a full body transmission, right? So I am expressing with my full body, physical, energetical, mental body, spiritual body, and give that download, be it online or in person. But it's a complete different way of teaching and of learning, right? And I find that as well super fascinating when I have teachers who are able to do this, because then it lands so different in my whole nervous system, in the whole body. I have a very different access to it than I'm just sitting there and listening and then, or reading something, and then it takes years until I have really access and can use it in my work.
Absolutely. And I do have to give, I have so much gratitude and appreciation for my mentors who have come before me, where I've really, they've been able to create a space that, as you said, lands on all of the bodies. It's like, boom. I remember watching a transmission, and that moment, and I've had multiple of these moments in my life, that moment changed my life forever. Because I'm like, holy shit, that human being has given themselves permission to really fucking go there. And it's not a performance, and it's not an act, and it's not a play. It's like really them in it. And for me, I feel that this is what's, allowed me to, again, awaken this life force body that knows truth because it feels it, not because of the mind, of the stories, of the programs, of the conditionings of what whoever, whether it's religion or society or parents or what have you, have told me. And I believe whenever we start to access that as a collective, which it means we need to become embodied, that is how some deep shifts are going to happen. And the covers on our eyes will start to slowly lift, and we'll be able to see all of the bullshit that is playing out that we've allowed because we've been asleep. And now it's time to wake up. So, yeah.
Yes, I see it exactly the same. Would you be open to share what kind of situation that was, or is that too intimate?
To which, well, it was, I mean, there's been a few, but the one that I'm having in my mind right now, it was actually in Ista, and I had my first teachers were very, very good. And this was years ago. This was 7 years ago. And there was a transmission on one of the practices called Sacred Spot. And in this transmission, it was a man who was the facilitator, and I could just feel there was two that he specifically embodied. It was in this transmission that I just felt something like the life force that's stuck in the body come roaring out. And it was like, wow, the wildness, the animal, the life force, that it was almost, it was insane. It was insane. And then there was another one, which was around emotional release. and aspecting, and the aspecting still remains one of my favorite practices to do with my clients today, because I saw how he was able, even though, he was 50 and had probably gone through the story of his parents and the fucked upness, he could still go there and he could still access it, and he could still give himself to this peace that lives in our body, that lives in our psyche, that lives stored and stuck away. And because of that, because he could give himself permission to go to the darkness, it gave me permission. And I really feel that, this is another piece, like, I really feel in the training, this person was really embodying and giving of the field permission to go there. And then there's also, like, I don't know him so much personally outside, but another thing that is really important to me as a leader is that what you're able to share in front of a group and how you show up in front of a group is also very close to how you show up behind the scenes. And this is why, again, going back to what makes Temple of Radiance different is we want to have a community. So there will be an online membership that anyone can join, and even somebody brand new to Tantra can join, and they will be held by our leaders, because we all know we should do our workouts, we should do yoga, we should do breath work, like, that is knowledge. And it's really freaking hard to hold yourself sometimes when life is busy and you have kids and a job and you're traveling and you're tired and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, and your self-pleasure practice, of course, it's like, so what we want is to create a space where we're practicing together, both online and in person. So every Monday, there will be a movement class where you and me, I like to be held also, even though I can do my own embodiment. It's really nice to have someone hold space for me, can move me, and I can start my day in my body instead of in my mind, and channel this energy to something bigger than myself, so that I can go into my work and do the emails and everything else from a higher place. And maybe on Sundays, there's a sacred self-pleasure practice. So if I'm feeling like, oh, it's so hard for me to hold myself, I'm holding everybody else all the time, I can tune in to one of the sisters who's guiding. And all I have to do is open my laptop and listen to a beautiful voice and a soundscape of music, so I can have an hour to myself. So this is, again, like, how do we create this embodied community? It's through, structures and systems that help us hold each other.
So beautiful. I feel exactly the same. And I was already, like, in my mind a few years ago, structured, like, how can that look like? How can it be possible? So I really love that you bring that to life. And I feel it's so needed. And there are so many, especially women, who are looking for this community. And there are not many spaces yet where we can meet and practice together and really, hold each other, as you said, because there are times I need that too. I want someone to guide me and to hold me, and and not always being the person holding the others, guiding the others. So that's very, very beautiful.
Thank you. Feels like it's bigger than us, which is why
it's much, it's much bigger. Like, I could see it. It's much bigger. And for me, it was like, I lived in Tantric community as well, similar to you, with 6 people on Kopangan for a year. And it was amazing. It was one of the best times in my whole life because of this, because of the support of all these pieces, because of the love we shared. And we had one vision, and I could really feel like we wrote a whole manuscript about, okay, what do we want to create? Like, we created a whole container for specific periods of time, and how powerful it was to bring our presence and focus together. And then it was like a huge laser pointer, and everything manifested faster. So for me, this is what I want to live. I don't want to live different. And at the moment, I'm as well in Los Angeles, and we just shared a house with 4 to 5 people, and it's so beautiful when, like, spirituality and entrepreneurial qualities come together, and you really manifest things together and have support in all of these realms.
Absolutely. And I feel, I lived also in Kopangan and India, and in the spiritual community for a while, for many years, actually. And that was something that I missed. I feel like sometimes the spiritual community can be very feminine, which is beautiful. Again, the way to me is through the feminine. And There's also, we live in a three-dimensional world. We do need to eat. We do need to continue to cultivate and create and grow and have vision and have focus. And for me, the entrepreneurship is very masculine. And the weaving, the vision for me is really feminine. And then how do I stay connected to the vision and not lose focus is very masculine. And so I feel that entrepreneurship and spirituality, when they meet, there's this real life force energy that comes through of this creation that cultivates and creates things that are beyond, what we could have ever even imagined.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you would describe the qualities of tantric leadership, you named a few already. Maybe you can give a little summary. What exactly is that for you?
Absolutely. So for me, it's being in devotion to something greater than myself. It's realizing that I am just a small speck in a large, huge mystery that is absolutely divine if I choose to see it that way. And it's also about constantly coming back to that. Yes, I have my personal and I have my vision and I have my challenges, etc. And there's also something so much bigger. So being in devotion to that for me is a big part of the Tantra. It's also accepting the light and the dark. It's understanding that we seek, and the aim is to remember that we are one and go back to non-duality. And as long as we're in this three-dimensional experience in this human body, there's going to be these contrasts of light and dark. So how can we continue to find God even in the shit? And this is part of when my best friend Arya was doing these rituals and these kriyas, they were throwing cow shit on her and piss on her. And this is like, how can you see God also in this? And so, that's also a part of it. Embodiment is a huge part of it. And it's this understanding that there's this dance between masculine and feminine, that there is this constant, we need to understand, where are we overextending, where are we in the immature feminine or masculine, where are we leaking energy or missing energy, and that's this constant dance of coming back together. And then of course the bonus is if you can do it in community and with each other and realize that it's so much easier, and we're tribal by nature, so we're meant to be in support of each other instead of in competition with each other.
Absolutely. This is one of the biggest things. Like, I'm right now in Los Angeles and plugged into what I would call the old world, like the very materialistic world, Hollywood and all that stuff. And I feel so much competition around me, especially between women, jealousy and all. Yeah, this was for me a bit the reason why I left this kind of world, why I moved to Thailand. And it still kind of creates a bit of pain inside of me to experience it and to watch it, and to having the wish to bring what we're experiencing in sisterhood, to bring it more even in these kind of circles, even though I feel, wow, they're like far away from that. They think I'm, with some things I'm a bit crazy, right? And I wonder when these waves will reach even these realms.
Well, I trust that they're on their way. And as we both have our practice, patience, divine timing is everything.
And I would love to hear from you, for people who are listening, what is your favorite tantric practice? Like, is there a little tantric practice you can share, what people can maybe integrate in their daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few, but one is coming out very strongly. And this is the practice of transfiguration. And Arya, she often says this was the first tantric practice that she learned. And for me, I was doing it before I ever realized it was a tantric practice. And this practice is to transfigure, to change the figure, first and foremost, of, I say, yourself. So you can do this with yourself, into realizing, again, if you want to find God consciousness, if you want to reach the state of non-dualism, you can do that through your eyes, which are the gateways of your own soul. The way that I would recommend doing this is finding a large mirror that you can sit in front of, ideally on a pillow or a cushion, light a candle. That will just signify that this is a ritualistic space, that you're going to be in a devotional space. put on some light background music, and set a timer for about 5 minutes. And this practice, I always say, true Tantra starts with self. I wrote a blog maybe 8 or 10 years ago about this. And you really sit and you soften your gaze and you relax your jaw and you straighten your spine and you breathe into the left eye. And the left eye is really where the feminine part of us is. And so this is the receptive part. And we breathe and you just gaze with a soft gaze. And what you will see, I use this with a lot of my coaching clients, especially the ones that are struggling with insecurity, self-doubt, shame, etc. It's a powerful freaking ritual. And what you'll see is that you start to morph, you'll start to change. You'll see a wise woman, you'll see the little girl, you'll see maybe even lifetimes, you'll see the animal. There's just so much that can happen. And often this practice brings up a lot of emotions. And then once you start doing this with yourself and really truly seeing yourself, because why is the overachiever there, right? Why is the pleaser there? Why is the person who's seeking for attention and love there? Well, because they want to be seen, they want to be acknowledged. Well, here's the thing. If you're in this overactive part that's constantly trying to be seen, it's probably because you're not seeing yourself. So this is an amazing practice to sit down, get very present with you and start seeing you. I would always recommend journaling after to really write it down and do this practice a few times. Do it a few times a week. It takes 5 minutes, 10 max to set up your space. It's literally everyone can do it. And then from that place, you meet yourself in deeper depth. And from that place, you'll be able to meet others in deeper depth. And from that place, you can share this with another being and invite them to meet you as well. No words are needed. You can, again, 5-10 minutes and you're done. But yeah, it will start to shift so much inside, which is really, really helpful.
Thank you so much for sharing it, because it's true, it's one of the most powerful rituals I have experienced myself. And it's an amazing reminder for me as well. Oh, I haven't done it in a while, over a year. I will do it. This week, I will do it again because I know how powerful it is.
Yes.
Thank you so much for
that.
This
is why we need each other. We have reminders, right?
Yes.
We know these things. And it's thank you. That's what I get to do. Totally. Yeah.
And I would love to close this podcast with one last question. If you would have a magic stick and create a Tantra festival, how would that look like?
If I had a magic stick and I created a Tantra festival, it would be in a warm place where there's a lot of space to be outside, where there's spaces, I would say, for presence. One of the things I think is challenging in a Tantra festival is that there's so much to do. People can get really caught up in, oh my God, this workshop and that workshop, and I don't want to miss it, and can do a little too much. I would love to have a tea tent somewhere, outside, where in between workshops for integration, there's someone pouring tea, where you're sitting in silence, there's no talking, it's just you and the tea, integration, in this beautiful space. And in that, there's this weaving of amazing teachers and places to connect and places to practice. And yeah, I see butterflies flying and dragonflies flying, and a lot of warmth and connection and opportunities to deepen, both with self and with others.
Thank you for sharing that. I love the tea tent. Maybe we can put it up, because I studied Chinese and I lived in China, and tea is a huge thing, and they have these beautiful tea houses there. And I have a good friend who is a tea ceremony master, and it's always so amazing to just be in silence and with a tea. And so, thank you for this beautiful impulse.
I hope it magically manifests its way. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I would be pouring if I wasn't teaching, but
yeah. So thank you so much for this very inspiring talk we had today, for this beautiful exchange. And thank you for everyone who listened to our podcast today. We will put all the contact links and informations in the show notes. And if you have anything coming up, any questions, emotions, whatever it is, Amanda and I would love for you to connect with us. Send us your feedback. We're here and we're looking forward to meet you somewhere on this beautiful planet in one of our offerings, I would say.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Anja.